Hey everybody, it's Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, where I go on a weekend cruise or longer just about every weekend, and that gives me a little bit of insight into what it means to be a frequent cruiser. If there's a better term to use for that, let me know down in the comments, but frequent cruiser is the best that I can come up with. Cruise Addict might be another one that we can call ourselves. But there's a few things out there that I think people don't realize or don't understand when you have a frequent cruiser. There's some things that we just don't talk about, and I thought I'd come on here and share some of those with you on what my experience has been of other frequent cruisers as well. So I'm going to make some very broad generalities in things that we won't tell you. And so we'll go through the list and see if you can relate to any of these. First on the list that a frequent cruiser will not tell you is we have no idea where the ship is going. So we just know when we're getting on it and what ship it is. Sometimes I might not even know that, but I have no idea where it's going, when it's going there. But people's favorite question to ask us is, oh, where's the sailing going? I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to have to pull up an email confirmation or something to get that information to you because I honestly don't know. Even the day before, if I'm on a ship, I might not even know where it's going the next day until we actually get there. The second thing is we wear the same clothes very, very frequently. So much like crew members on the ship who come with one suitcase and they wear things over and over for the contract, we probably have a very similar way of doing it. You see me in these videos and I'm wearing, some of the same shirts. I decided to pick one out different for today. But oftentimes I'm wearing the same clothes onto the ship because they travel really well, they don't wrinkle, they don't take up much space in the suitcase, and it is my cruise, kit, if you will. So we go home, we wash all those clothes, and we put them right back into the suitcase or into a special place in the closet where we know we can easily grab them and throw them back in, and we're back out the door. This also keeps us from forgetting different items that we know that we're going to need on the cruise. So that's why you're going to see a lot of frequent cruisers wearing the same things. If you happen to come on multiple sailings with us, you'll see we wear a lot of the same outfits. Third thing, and this one is probably more of a personal thing to me, is life at sea can be exhilarating. It can give you some amazing experiences, but it also can be a little bit lonely at times. So as much as I love meeting people, I'm always meeting people. It's very difficult, and I found some other folks that also cruise often, which I've been able to build some really strong relationships and bonds with. But most of the time, you're meeting people, and then the next week, you're meeting new people again. There's not an opportunity to really build strong, long-term, long-lasting relationships on a cruise ship. I've got some of those friends that I've absolutely made, and we've kept up for years. And there's other frequent cruisers that, are part of my royal family, so shout out to my royal family, that have made the experience all the while and help fill that void. But oftentimes you feel like you're being pulled from life at sea versus life on land. So I also love my friends on land. I've got plenty of those. But it's really difficult in prioritizing when I hang out with different people because I'm always at sea. And so it's a really tough conversation when people say, hey, what are you doing? Can we hang out? And I'm constantly like, oh, I'll be back, in a few days. Let's hang out then. Which will bring me to my next point on things that we don't talk about is when we're at land, we are extremely busy. Because number one, we're catching up with all those people that I just mentioned. So when I am on land, it is imperative that I actually pay attention to my friends on land because I'm gone so many times. So I'm constantly trying to plan dinners with them, get up with them, so that I can continue fostering that relationship and I just don't disappear. The other thing is we're going to be doing doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, hair appointments, eye appointments. All of those things have normally a very small window of time to happen in. So it will not be uncommon for a frequent cruiser when they're on land for 4 or 5 days to have 4 or 5 different appointments with some of those people on land. And so we stay really, really busy catching up with friends, doing all the appointments, doing our chores and errands, and probably paying a couple of bills here and there to make sure that when we go back at sea, all of that stuff is taken care of. The other thing that, people won't talk about is the shows are always the same on particular cruise ships. Now, there are multiple shows that are shown throughout Royal Caribbean's fleet, but they're still kind of the same look and feel at the end of it. So, for instance, I think there's 4 or 5 different singer and production shows that the Royal cast puts on, and those differ based on the ship, and I personally have some favorites that I like and some that I don't, but they are always the same. So I can't tell you how many times I have seen all of these shows, and honestly, it gets old after a while. Like, I don't always want to go see the show because I'm like, yeah, I kind of been there, done that, or I just did that last weekend. Like, I don't really want to go see the same show again. Same thing for the headliners. So the headliners are a little bit different. You'll have your jugglers, your comedians, the showman type roles, if you will. And they're also the same exact show. They're just a little bit different sometimes. They do rotate and they go on and off of ships with much shorter contracts. But the problem is when you cruise so often, you wind up running into the same headliners on different ships. And honestly, the comedians don't change their information or their one-liners that terribly frequently. So it can be a few months that I've seen somebody and I still remember some of their best jokes. And when you already know the punchline, it kind of loses a little bit of its luster. The sixth thing I'll mention is you absolutely get tired of the food on the cruise ship. So there's different options on the cruise ship. You've got your main dining room, you've got specialty restaurants, you've got the Windjammer or the buffet, you've got Sorrento's Pizza, and quite frankly, it all winds up tasting the same at a certain point. It is good food. If you are coming on your first cruise this month, it's really good food. If you've been on the ship for 50% of the month, the food all starts tasting the same. And so I personally try to go to the main dining room a couple of sailings, then I'll switch it up and go to specialty, then I'll go to the Windjammer, trying to just keep this cycle where the food doesn't get old. You can show me on the main dining room the menu of like the first two items in the appetizers, and I can tell you exactly what I'm going to wind up ordering. I'm not always very adventurous. I get into a groove just like the rest of you do with, having something that just feels familiar. And so I know what I like, and I wind up ordering the same things on the ship, and it gets a little bit old every now and again. You just go, I don't want to eat the rack of lamb anymore, which is what I just had last night, actually. The good news is when you do cruise often, it's okay to go through phases, and I think a lot of frequent cruisers go through different phases. For instance, with the dining, I told you I go through main dining, specialty, Windjammer. I'm changing it up, kind of based on my mood and based on the sailing. Same things go for the show. Sometimes I have no desire to go see another comedian. And then there's other times I'm like, you know what? We've got a new cast coming on board. Let me go and support them, their show, see what they're doing. And I'll go to 2 or 3 showings in a row to show my support and to really just do something different. We all go through various phases. It's also really neat when, we have a friend come on board with us because all of a sudden we wind up being a tourist again, or we actually wind up being a vacationer because they remind us of all the things that there are to do here, because it's really easy for us to get into our cruising rut and only do the things that, we've gotten in the habit of doing. All right, everybody, this is Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, hoping to see you on a weekend cruise or longer sailing soon.